When it comes to my enjoyment of sports, I really hate it when people insert politics into topics that don't warrant an injection of the poison that is politics. Think about it. A few years ago, there would have been no need for me to even do this weekly segment examining politics and social justice in sports. I absolutely detest these people for ruining what I once loved, competition. But since journalists, both sports and political, seem to revel in coming up with the most asinine headlines, feeding into stories that Stretch Armstrong couldn't reach, I gotta admit, unless it's an actual game, I don't really watch sports-themed shows or read sports-themed columns anymore. Why am I so frustrated? Because of this headline. Inside Baseball Hall of Famer Mariano Rivera's far-right politics. Hey everybody, thanks for joining me once again on the show that makes fun of political people who think they know sports out of left field. For MRC-TV, I'm Nick Kangadis. Let me preface my disgust by saying, at least the Daily Beast labeled the article I mentioned at the top as opinion. That being said, freelance journalist, and I'm using that in the loosest terms possible, Robert Silverman made a joke out of himself over the weekend when publishing a story about New York Yankees legend and the greatest relief pitcher in the history of baseball, Mariano Rivera. To his credit, even Silverman isn't stupid enough to classify Rivera as anything but the greatest relief pitcher in MLB history. But apparently, that's where the intelligence ended. Basically, Silverman crapped all over the pristine legacy of the Panamanian-born Rivera simply for his Christian faith, pro-Israel activism, and his involvement in certain pro-Israel events held by the Trump administration. Silverman even called out Rivera for getting praise from President Trump himself. Oh no, the horror!
Oh, the humanity!
So let me get this straight. One of the knocks Silverman has of Rivera is that, quote, he was more than happy to expound, unquote, on his Christian faith, but also knocked Rivera for being pro-Israel. Maybe it's just me, but that sounds like someone who's tolerant of others. Silverman even admits that Rivera being unanimously inducted into the Hall of Fame is, quote, an honor that was entirely merited, unquote. And by the way, no one, not Babe Ruth, not Jackie Robinson, not Mickey Mantle, has ever been unanimously voted into the Hall of Fame. Until now. That makes Silverman's opinion seem even slimier than it already is. The secondary headline of Silverman's hit piece on one of the most respected and classiest baseball players of all time sums up Silverman's severe case of Trump derangement syndrome. Quote, the Yankees legend, who will be inducted into the Baseball Hall of Fame on Sunday, has managed to keep his political leanings hidden for decades, unquote. Silverman took one of the most important days of Rivera's professional life, being inducted into the Baseball Hall of Fame, which is probably the most difficult Hall of Fame in sports to get into, and attempted to crap all over it simply because Silverman doesn't like Rivera's politics. Folks, that makes Silverman an opportunist scumbag. Why didn't Silverman write this sooner and have it published somewhere else? Because he knew that people would be searching for Rivera on Google last Sunday more than usual, so he decided to capitalize off the accomplishments of a better man than him. Rivera kept his political leanings and ties on the back burner during his career, which is what a professional does, or at least used to. Ever since he became outwardly more politically active, for the most part, Rivera has still kept relatively quiet to the point that I knew very little about his activity. Rivera doesn't do what he does for the accolades. He did what he did for as long as he did during his career because he loved the game and wanted to be the best. And that's how a professional should conduct himself, at least in the eyes of others. If that weren't the case, then why would those, even in a town that represented Rivera's biggest professional rival, Boston, call him Boston's, quote, most respected opponent? The simple answer is because Rivera has something called class. Something Silverman would know very little about. You really want to know why Rivera's politics have remained hidden for decades? Because Rivera didn't and still doesn't need to talk about it to be about it. He understands more than most people, regardless of race, religion, or a political affiliation, that For him, actions speak louder than words. People like Silverman don't understand that. Silverman wrote that quote, "Over the past 3 years, he's also served at the pleasure of a racist president," unquote. Folks, let me just finish by saying this. This guy has no shame. Silverman's hatred of everything Trump has blinded him so severely that he thought it would be a great idea to disparage Rivera for embracing the country that gave him everything, while he worked his butt off to be the best in baseball, ironically on a day in which Rivera received the highest honor a baseball player can receive. Silverman might want to take a minute and attempt to find his sports roots, because he should be embarrassed to put his name on such a disgusting and intentionally ill-timed hit piece. Don't let people like Silverman do what they do and diminish people and dehumanize them because they don't think exactly like he does. It's something that Silverman is going to have to live with for the rest of his life. A man as respected as Mariano Rivera truly deserves only one sentence written about him this week. Congratulations on being inducted into the Baseball Hall of Fame. End of story. That's all I got for this week. If you like this video, don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel and hit that notification bell so that YouTube, if they're feeling up to it, lets you know when MRC-TV comes out with a new video. And like us on Zuckerbook. For MRC-TV, I'm Nick Kangadis.